Welcome back, Scotty P here, the King of Arts, and this is part 2 of the Crisscross Force drawing. If you haven't, please go and check out part 1 where I go through the rough sketch, composition, and creating this character to give you some background on how it was created. Part 2 here is where I've gone away, had a bit of a break, come back, and then I can see things a bit more clearer. What I call a fresh pair of eyes, and I've just made some notes there about things that were incorrect or just need to be cleaned up, and I'm just going to go through and tackle those one by one and delete the note as I go. So I wanted this shoe to fall in the background a bit more, so shrunk it down. Later on I realised that the boot is far too short. When looking at the reference character and looking at the other boot, it should be up around his knee, so when I do the second fresh pair of eyes, I pick up on that and we'll fix up that boot later on. So if you did miss part 1, a lot of this video will be sped up so that it's not drawing in real time, and some of it is even cut where I've taken far too long to draw one aspect. As an example, this sleeve, I must have drawn this sleeve 4 or 5 times before I was happy with it. I really just wanted it to look best like a tree trunk, and I wanted the folds to kind of match what was happening with the other sleeve. I think I end up putting too many wrinkles to the bottom of it, too many creases, and I end up taking a lot of them out. Just changing some of the fabric behavior there, where his hand's pushing down, it would create tension from his left thigh. So adding those crease lines in, shortening the robe. Again, just more notes on things that are missing, such as the crease lines on the hood, because Baby Yoda's weight would make that hood behave differently to how it is now. I do have background notes as well. This is just a roughed in background. I do a lot more work on the railing that's behind him, and I end up moving the moon or the planet altogether. Then we move on to putting in the flats, which is the base color, and then we can work on the highlights and the shadows. So I've already done the color swatch for this, and every color has a base color or a mid-tone, a highlight and a shadow. And the highlights and the shadows, typically I won't just make them darker or lighter version of the base color, I'll actually change the saturation to match as well, deepening that saturation for the shadows and pulling it back for the highlights. Now I didn't just add in crease lines for the hood, I actually changed the outer edges of the hood as well, to try and match where his hands are pulling down on the hood. So more straight lines with some tension shown there. Now the handle, that was a tricky one. So I end up changing the hand position in the end, because the way the hand was, the lightsaber should actually be foreshortened and lead off into the background. But I wanted the lightsaber to be more beside him, because I'm using it as a light source when we get to the colouring. This is a stylistic choice. It's far from necessary, but I just prefer to have tapered lines where the lines don't meet each other. If you're familiar with audio tech, it's similar to fading in and out tracks. It's just more pleasing and less abrupt. So I like the lines to taper at either end. If I was a little more skilled with the pressure sensitive pen, I could probably do it first time, but what I'll typically do is just use a fairly even pressure. I'll extend the line out and then erase to create that taper. It does seem like it's a lot more work, but I think it would take me a lot more time to get the pressure sensitive line correct. I'd redo the same line 20 times before I was happy with the tapering at either end if I tried to do it just using the pen. So here I actually think the boot is too long because I'm comparing it to the other boot, but then when looking at the reference material, I can see that the other one is actually too short because they should be up around his knees. So let's go ahead and remove a lot of that fabric, bring the boot up higher, and then just create some fabric overlap. And I think that's pretty much it for the line work on the subject. There's a lot of line work cleanup needed for the background, and I also need to create the railing. So I thin out the mountains because that line was too thick. Now we can get rid of the rough lines in between the top and bottom rail of the banister behind him. wanted to try something new for the railing, so up the top there's a little butterfly icon, which you'll see me click on, and it acts as kind of a clone tool. So as you draw in one quadrant, it will duplicate it in a different quadrant. So you'll see what I mean when I do the railing in a sec. It was something different to try, and it allowed me to do a more ornate design on the railing as well. So the lines on the spaceship are pointing down to his arm. That's what I'm indicating there, because I wanted the focus to be pulled to the lightsaber, which I'll do when I get to the coloring. So in line with having the bottom of the spaceship point to his arm, I also have the moon or the planet. The curves follow that same arc and lead to the tip of the lightsaber. So that then draws the focus even more to what I wanted the focus to be, which is the lightsaber, and it also adds additional depth. I kept the detail pretty vague as well for that spaceship, just purely because I didn't want it to pull focus from Obi and Yoda. So this tool I'm using here is the, I don't know what it's called. It's a little butterfly icon at the top. Basically, yeah, you draw in, you'll see me use the brush tool in one of those 4 quadrants, and it will duplicate the line work in the others. And you can change the number of duplications or the shape as well, and create some really unique effects with it. A lot of this is just me figuring out how the tool works for the first time. And then when the video gets sped up in a sec, you'll see that I end up changing the shape of the tool to be a lot longer and narrower. Like I said, just trial and error. You can't be scared of trying these new things. You just got to get in there and see how it behaves, and think of ways you can adapt and use it. This is me figuring out that I can't actually resize the tool itself. It was resizing the drawing that I did. So this is starting from scratch. I pretty much had the hang of how to use it now, so it's throwing in a bit more detail. And when I was happy with this one panel, I could just duplicate it across the back. did take a little while to figure out how I could erase part of it without erasing from all the 4 quadrants, because I just wanted to remove it from behind his leg. So a bit of layer work and figuring out how to activate and deactivate the tool. And then I was able to go through and put it across the background and delete it from any foreground material, like his legs. There we have the railing in the background. I had ideas of it being etched, so having the raised parts a different tone to the etched in parts, and definitely having see-through panels on it as well, but I think I abandoned that idea when it comes to the colouring, and I see how much work is involved. I do end up keeping the see-through panels to bring some of that background mountain through and show some more depth, but I abandoned the whole etched in idea. This was interesting, the lightsaber handle. So I don't know why I started drawing it the position it's in now, because I can clearly see it's not going to fit his hand. So what I do is I get rid of all that and lower it down so it meets his hand. And then when I do the handle, I realize that whole foreshortened, it falling off in the background error that I wanted to fix. The only way I could have it off to the side was to figure out how knuckles work. So I spend probably twice as long as I should have getting this hand right, but I was happy with the way it ended up in the end. It was just a matter of realigning the blade, whatever you call that part of the lightsaber. Thanks for sticking around. I'm Scotty P, and I bloody love art.